Matt Turner, President, CEO, Director of Rockhaven Resources.
Yeah.
There's the
Thanks, Carl.
Right there.
Yeah.
You're satisfied at this point? I mean, what would be the game plan going forward, and what's the plan in 2023?
Yeah, 2023 is going to see a lot of really neat catalysts. Already we're starting to see them on the infill drill results. We put out news 2 weeks ago as well. Got some really nice numbers. And I mentioned the infill, also step out drilling in that first news release too. So one of the step out holes in an area that's not in the current resource estimate, that cut 1.3 meters of 101 grams gold. So that was a really nice hit. So yeah, it's, you know, again, I'm kind of talking more about infill drilling, but there is that step out expansion component too.
How far were the step outs?
We stepped out in total about 300 meters along that zone. So, you know, assuming that those hits all come into the next resource estimate, that'll be, you know, a pretty decent expansion out towards the east.
Okay.
And then, so furthermore, the next, I think, big catalyst for the company is the metallurgy. So that's what a lot of this focus, so the last 2 years worth of drilling, we've basically collected. So what you do is you drill the hole, you split the sample, half goes to the lab, the other half goes back in the box. We've taken everything that would have gone back in the box and we've sent that to the lab, to the metallurgy lab. And so they've got, I think it's somewhere around 1,600 kilos of material to do this pre-feasibility level met work on. So it's going to be...
Takes a while though, right?
It takes a while, yeah, it does take a while. It'll take about 3 months to do, but it's super important for this project. It's polymetallic vein, right? So we're right now in the flow sheet, we're producing 3 concentrates effectively. So in order to, you know, have that metallurgy done on a very representative amount of material, I think is super important. So, so that'll be the next catalyst.
Yeah. And
then after that, all those numbers from the metallurgy are going to go into the updated resource estimate. So the modeling, we've already been working on that. We're trying to keep people busy when we were waiting for assays. We started modeling just based on core photos because the veins are very visual at Klaza. It's hosting a granodiorite. So you drill through the granites, you hit a vein. In some cases, you might hit a dike that the veins run along, and then you get back into the granites. And so visually, they're very obvious, and we try to show that on our website. So basically, every press release, you can see the different drill core intercepts, which is really neat for people to see because, again, it's beyond just the numbers, right? It's beyond the assays. You actually get to see what the rocks look like.
So those rocks, are you presenting them here?
Yeah, we actually have a core shack later on today in the Yukon Pavilion, so that'll be fun. So I've got a box of rocks of drill core. But yeah, so that'll be, but that's a big thing with the Klaza story is that it's, I always like to say it's a real deposit, and we try to demonstrate that through our virtual core shacks or our in-person core shacks, as would be the case today.
Any strategic partnerships with the company?
Well, I think if you look at on the share ownership side, so we don't really have a strategic partnership per se on the project side or with a major.
Yeah.
But we have some amazing shareholders. A few of which, you know, I can talk about that are publicly disclosed. Strategic Metals owns 30%, so they're more or less our parent company.
Yeah, so you got to keep a tight relationship there.
yeah, and they're obviously like Doug, who's the CEO and president of Strategic Metals. He's now come on the Rockhaven board, which is fantastic. But
he's got a lot of experience.
Tons, yeah. Over what would Doug be at now? Over 40 years.
Yeah.
It'd be probably around 45 years or so.
Yeah.
And basically all of that has been in the Yukon. So
yeah, why wouldn't you?
And it's funny too when you look at Doug specifically. He worked on Klaza back in the 80s, and he always liked it. And he was the one that came to me back in 2009 and said, look, you know, when we were out there for Chevron, at the time they had their minimum threshold to move a project forward was 10 million tons of 0.1 ounce gold.
Yeah.
And at the time they didn't see it, even though we had all these really interesting soil geochemical anomalies that were never tested. And so that's actually why we picked up the ground in 2009. And, you know, fast forward to today, we're at 11 million tons. If you go global, right? If you go indicated and inferred, it's about 11 million tons at about 0.13 ounces per ton of gold. So it's funny where, you know, if Chevron would have stayed with it back in the 80s, who knows what Klaza would have been today, right?
That's right.
And having Doug there, he can, you know, relay these things to us. But yeah, just, you know, his knowledge on the ground and, you know, what the idea was at Klaza going in when we purchased it. It's really, you know, played out almost on the, you know, exceeded our expectations, I guess, right? When you think about it, to the fact it's an epithermal vein deposit, and a lot of these epithermal gold deposits, you know, it's typically hard to get these things over, say, 500,000 ounces, and, you know, the fact is we're at about 1.2 million ounces gold, and there's a considerable silver component, about 28 million ounces of silver as well, so at a nice high grade. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, come a long way over the years, but we're trending in the right direction. So.
Let's talk about jurisdiction here and why, you know, a major might want to buy this deposit as you continue on your journey. Infrastructure is a big thing.
Yeah, it's huge.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you want to get into that? Maybe
yeah,
explain?
So that was, and it's funny too, kind of going back to when we picked up the project. We were coming out of the 2008 crash, and we knew budgets were going to be super tight. So we had a couple projects that were effectively all only accessible by either plane or helicopter.
Right.
And that kind of scared us because, again, we knew it was going to be hard to raise money, and the money we raised, we didn't want it to just go for supporting a project in the way of, you know, getting people and food and whatnot out to site. So we looked at high-grade road accessible projects, and we identified 3, one of which was Klaza. And Klaza was the one that we really tested first. And success, hole 3 cut about 10 meters of 3 grams. And I think beyond just the results, the assay results, it was the alteration around the veins, the frequency of veining, the style of veining, that really got us excited. And again, that was hole 3, and this past summer we finished hole 628. So it's, like I said, it's come a long way. 130,000 meters of drilling in over 600 holes.
Okay. So you've got road access.
Yeah.
You've got, is there hydro?
Hydro, well, the power grid runs up the Klondike Highway, so it goes through Carmacks, the town of Carmacks, which is about 68 kilometers by road from Klaza. So.
Where would be the nearest processing plant, smelter?
Yeah, so we'd be producing the 3 cons. The 2 cons would be, that's going to be part of the concentrate marketing analysis to see where those should best go.
Okay.
And then you've got to, you know, factor in how are they going to get to it? Is it going to be shipped through Skagway or Stewart or Haines? Is it going to be put on a train, Fort Nelson, and shipped via rail? And that really kind of comes true with both the lead con and the zinc con. The last one would be the arsenopyrite concentrate. We've looked at potentially shipping that out to different processing plants. It looks like the most viable option as of right now is to process it on site because you maximize recovery and payability of that.
Right.
And when you're dealing with a gold concentrate, yeah, every % that you lose, whether it's from just from trying to upgrade the con when you're shipping it out, so if you lose anything by way of recovery, or through processing fees, off-site, then yeah, it definitely affects your bottom line. So we want to make sure that we're maximizing value and Yeah. For us, as of right now, all roads lead to on-site processing for that gold con.
Okay. What about cost of drilling up there? What's your cost per meter?
Yeah, and that's a really neat thing with the project is the fact that you've got road access. You're relatively close to Whitehorse, which is kind of the base for our operations outside of the camp, obviously. It's super low all-in cost. When we started out there, it was about $200 all in a meter Canadian.
That's good.
Now we're at about, say, 260, 270,
With
just
inflation.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty
but
good.
we've been working out there for 12 years, so
Yeah.
I think it kind of makes
So
sense.
you're not into helicopters then?
No, I think we've logged about, I once kind of kept track of it. I think we've logged about 15 hours of helicopter time in 12 years, so it's
not bad.
yeah, I've used that alone in one day on some projects. So
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
racks the bills up.
yeah,
really
exactly.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of your neighbors in the Golden Triangle, wouldn't
Yeah.
call them neighbors, but that's what they're up against.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk more about capital market stuff here. What's your ownership in the company?
Personally,
Yeah.
about just under 1%.
1%?
Yeah.
And how long you been with the company for?
12 years now.
12 years,
Yeah.
okay. What's the overhang? Is there an overhang in the stock? Like based on the stock right now, I think when we last checked was around 8.5 cents.
Yeah, exactly. So
Are
that,
there any
that
warrants?
puts it at about a $20 million market cap.
Yeah.
273 million shares outstanding. There are warrants and options, obviously. We've been running this project now out of our office, or this company out of our office, for about 17 years. So it's and we've never done a rollback. So
Right.
just to put that into perspective,
Okay.
we go out every year and issue about 10 million shares or so, sometimes more, sometimes less. But typically we're going out, say, to Klaza, over the last, say, 12 years, and we're drilling about between 8 to upwards of 20,000 meters a season. So
Right. You're putting the work
if you
in.
calculate that back on the all-in cost, it's about between $2 and $5 million drill programs, basically consistently every year since 2010.
Yeah. Okay, so since you haven't done a rollback, I mean, is that
Yeah.
something that you guys talk about sometimes? I mean, it's going to be an obvious question.
No, and it's an obvious question for sure. But no, we actually don't talk about it. I think for us, just because we see that the PFS is well in sight.
Yeah.
We're kind of thinking that the PFS could be a logical point for another group to come in. Again, we can't rely on that. I think you talk to not only me but the rest of the guys that have been running Rockhaven for, say, the last decade. We would have expected that point to have already come, right? Like,
Yeah.
as a group, we've been in the Yukon for over 50 years, and this is the farthest we've ever taken a project, because typically it would have been taken over by now. But
Right.
when you look at the markets that we've been in,
Yeah.
it's been pretty tough, right?
Sure,
For both investors, but also for a lot of the miners out there.
Yes.
So again, we're equipped to keep moving this project forward. And I think the PFS will be obviously a big milestone for the company, and we'll see what that leads to. But
Yeah. So, and how much capital do you have in the treasury right now?
here's a goose crossing.
Yeah, we just missed it.
So we're at about $2.2 million in the treasury right now.
2.2 million. Okay,
yeah.
so you don't have to go to market right away.
No, it gives us enough to complete what we want to complete here in 2023. The big question will be with the drilling side and the exploration side this year is, do we do a raise to fund that? And that's kind of up for discussion again as these results come back.
Yeah.
What we're already seeing, and I can talk about this because it was one of the things that came out in the first press release, the one from 2 weeks ago, is as we step back and infill drill the main zones, we were hitting a couple of these subparallel zones higher up in the hole. So like there was a headline, even though it didn't make the headline of the press release, but it was in kind of the highlight bullets. where we hit 6 meters of 6 grams gold. I think there was about 50 grams silver or so on that too. And that was only 20 meters downhole, but that was one of these subparallel zones. So that might be a focus for 2023 work, is to drill off these subparallel zones that, again, they come right to surface. So, you know, potentially they'd be, you know, they'd fall within a pit. You know, we'll see, obviously, once all the, you know, once we do all the drilling and all the results are in, but the fact that they do come to surface like the other zones, I think, you know, there's something that obviously can't be missed in the future economic studies past this PFS, right? So,
okay. When you do a raise, do you have the same shareholders coming back in?
Yeah, the last couple raises for sure. We've had, so we've got, Strategic Metals owns 30%, so they've taken part in our last few financings.
Okay.
Management owns about 10%, so yeah, most of the guys have come in and taken part.
Yeah, that's pretty important, especially
it's super important
when you've got
exactly
the shares outstanding. If you've got more of a controlling, you know, you don't have a whack of shareholders all over the place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting when you look at, say, the 3 or 4 main groups. They account for about 70% of the total stock.
Okay.
So yeah, at least 65% or so. So it's
30% with
pretty
strategic, and then ownership's got 10, so there's 40.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Condire out of Dallas.
What percentage?
They own 19.9. So
okay, so there you're over 50 there.
There's 60. Yeah.
How much do you? Quick little break here.
Yeah.
How much do you think is in the hands of retail?
I'd say probably maybe about 15%, maybe
15%,
something like that. So that, I think that's getting back to the conference that we're at, the VRIC 2023. It's been hopping. Like we haven't seen this amount of people, like, and I'm saying people as in like retail investors.
Yeah, like coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen that since probably 2012, I want to say.
That's great.
It's over 10 years.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good, it's a really good sign.
It was popping this morning.
Or
more
yeah,
yesterday?
well,
Today's Monday for everybody.
Yeah. So I'd say yesterday was, but it's still like super busy today. But yesterday was, again, the busiest I've seen it in over 10 years.
Oh,
so,
that's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Great to hear.
And people, you know, looking for opportunities, and I think a lot of them realize too that this sector's been, you know, it's been beat up for a long time, right? So there's
there's a lot of macro things that people are looking at and going, well, that seems like there's going to be, you know, gold can do very well or continue to keep going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so where can people follow the company best? Like, I mean, do you do detailed breakdowns of your assay results, or are you not there yet? Because not everybody does.
Well, yeah, no, we do. We've got all in the tables. It's all included. In fact, you can download. We keep a kind of a running list from. It spans all the way back from hole 1.
Right.
If you want to go through the 628 hole drill results, you can, but that's all posted on our website, so you can download that. And typically, if you want to see the includings and some of the broader intervals, we've got all that within the tables as well. So
okay. Are you expecting more news before or around PDAC?
Yeah, for sure. Like definitely the next set of drill results, probably in the next few weeks, and then after that, it's going to be. It'll be probably an update on the metallurgy.
Okay, that's exciting.
And that'll be before PDAC. It should be anyway.
Really, eh?
And
so about 5 weeks away.
Yeah, yeah. At least to show kind of what we're seeing thus far, and kind of the route that we hope to go with some of these things. So with some of the streams. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? I think this is a good spot to leave it off on. And you know, I look forward to those results coming, and we can kind of catch up with you then if you're interested.
Yeah, that's great, Carl.
And we'll see how you're liking those results, and what your game plan's going to be. And
awesome. We'll see what
over 2 million in the
what
bank.
the market's at and what
Yes.
gold's at. And
Could be even
silver
more
and-
exciting.
I know.
Yeah. It's really good to hear that the you know, on the
Yeah.
retail side there is, and
Yeah.
hopefully new people. I do hear that from other people that it's like, you know, we're talking to investors that are really new to this space or they're not that
Yeah.
familiar, and honestly that's a good thing.
It's a great thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
There is tremendous opportunities in this sector too,
Yeah.
especially in the junior side of it, right?
Absolutely.
So-
That's where all the wealth creation is. Everyone
Exactly, yeah.
and the producers and developers usually already have their wealth, or they're just trying to preserve. So
Exactly. Yeah.
okay, I'll shake your hand again. Gonna
Thanks, Carl.
pull over here on the side of the road, and we'll let you out. And
Great
get back.
driving, by the way.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we'll let you get back into there
Okay,
and,
man.
and meet all those investors.
Awesome. Thanks
right.
again, Carl.
Yes.